You're listening to the Visibly Fit podcast. Hey, I'm your host, Wendie Pett, and every week I'll give you holistic, practical solutions for everyday issues related to nutrition, healing, functional fitness, and behavior modifications. As a natural path fitness expert and wellness coach for over 20 years, my goal is to empower you to reach for greater health and to rise up to your next level of living in mind, body, and spirit. You were created with greatness in mind. It's time to own it. Are you with me? Then let's dive in. Hello, and thanks for tuning into this episode of Visibly Fit. I'm your host, Wendie Pett, and I am so excited about today's show because I have a dear friend with me that will be with you as well for the next half hour or so. And we will be talking a little bit about how science and theology can coexist. Yes, that's right. My guest today is Dr. Paula McDonald, and she brings lifelong experiences, challenges, and God moments to life to all that she meets, and she really does. Along with a Bachelor of Science degree in biology, a master's and PhD degree in theology, Dr. McDonald speaks from authority regarding science and the Bible. As a former educator and having been awarded the coveted Cristy McAfee Teaching Excellent Awards, the Teaching Excellent Award for the state of Texas, Dr. McDonald uses her expertise as an instructor and has the ability to bring difficult topics to life. A dynamic speaker, yes, she is. She resonates with a variety of audiences because of her ability to relate to others in a personal and lighthearted manner. Despite the incredible health challenges that Dr. McDonald has experienced, which we will touch on in this podcast, her message to live today will inspire you to get up, keep going in the midst of any storm. And so I want to bring in Dr. Paula McDonald, my dear friend, that has written a book that is absolutely fantastic. And I can't wait to share more with you. And the title of that book is Live Today, Abundantly Connecting to God. And it's called, what she talks about is Theosynthesis. And that is the coexistence of theology and science. And so welcome, Dr. Paula. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing so great. How are you?
I am fantastic. It's so great to have you on. I had you on my TV show, but I thought, man, we got to get you on the podcast because so many people need to hear your message. And I know that I've shared this with you before, but when I first picked up your book, I mean, I could not put it down. It is absolutely fantastic. And a few of the chapters, I thought, did I write this chapter? Or did Dr. Paula write this chapter? We are so in alignment and on the same page. Of course, you use bigger words than I probably would have used, but just an incredible book. And I love the concept of theosynthesis, and people that are listening or watching on YouTube right now are probably saying, what in the world is theosynthesis? So let's start there.
Thanks, Wendy. And I love that we can do this with me here in Texas and you up in Minnesota.
Yes, I know
Okay.
technology. It's a beautiful thing.
Hey, especially when it's working, right?
Right.
And I know here it was 102 yesterday.
Oh my.
And today we're getting a cold front, so it's
Uh-huh.
80.
Oh, that's good. 80. We can
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
work with that.
yeah. So, okay, theosynthesis. I know
Yes.
it's a mouthful and a lot of people don't even want to attempt saying it, but if you just think about photosynthesis, this beautiful cycle that God created on earth for his sunlight and the oxygen exchange and the CO2 exchange and the plants and everything just works beautifully together. But if one little piece of that were missing, what would we have? We'd have no
Yep,
life.
that's
There
right.
would be no life on this earth. So, this one perfect, beautiful cycle is essential for all of life. And so, as God laid this word theosynthesis, theos, God, synthesis in union with, it fell into that same beautiful pattern that He's created throughout life of balance. And that's the balance of the mind, the body, and the spirit, which is what I know you are all about with your show. And that's why
Yes.
we're so aligned and in balance, right? That's how God put us together. But this beautiful cycle, then if you replace the SUN light with the SON light, the sunlight
Mhm.
of our mind, body, and spirit, connecting with Him as the center. When we do that, we're whole and complete. When we choose to leave Him out, I call it a God gap, that we've chosen to leave Him out, but yet He wired us. Whether people want to believe it or not, He wired us down at the DNA level to know Him, but
Mhm.
He gave us free choice. So when we choose to say, yeah, I don't care, I don't need Him in my life, or He just doesn't matter, then you have this God gap. And so you're going to fill it with anything and everything because innately you know something is missing. And
Yeah.
therein lies the problem of imbalance. So you have people running around, they don't know why they're so frenetic, but it's because they've left something very important out, and that something is God. And so you're filling it with all kinds of just trash.
Yeah, and that can happen, Dr. Paula, at any season of your walk with the Lord, which I think is important to talk about because I think sometimes, and I know I've been guilty of this, thinking, oh, I've got this now, I got it. But once I say I got it and leave him out at all, then you feel the frazzle dazzle, you feel just out of sync. And we are wired to be in balance, just how God has made us. And so, at the cellular level, we feel that. And one of the chapters that talked to me the most, that I felt like, oh, I wrote this, is when you started talking about the vibrational frequency of cells. And I talk about that as it pertains to emotions, and you talk about the exact very thing. And so I know you worked and talked with women and men about just their health in general, and we're going to talk about toxins and that kind of thing and hear your story and how you actually came to where you are today. But just how even the frequency of our cells and how they are vibrating is a balancing act, right? And so if we are off balance with our emotions, we feel it at the cellular level, and that can cause dis-ease in the body. And so let's talk a little bit about that from your point, and as you talk about it in Theosynthesis, your book here.
Well, I'm glad you love that chapter. It's one of my
Mhm.
favorites. And when we think back to the biology and the physiology of our bodies, when we are at a cellular level, and if you think about all the systems in your body, like what is trying to stay in balance? Your blood pressure, our lovely hormones,
Yeah.
your body temperature. Every single system in our body is constantly striving for that balance, or the scientific word is homeostasis. And so, because of that, you can see that God's perfect design is for us to be in balance. And even this vibrational frequency that a lot of people, they're like, oh, Paula, don't even go there.
It's woo
That's talking
woo.
about
Yeah.
New Ageism. And I'm
It's
like,
not.
no, wait a minute. Who created the frequency and the vibrations? And
That's
Einstein
right.
was one of the first to really get notice on this. I mean, he was the one that said all things are vibrating,
Mhm.
even non-living things are vibrating at a molecular level. And so vibration, which means our words even and our
Mhm.
thoughts, bring incredible vibration to our systems. And therefore, really awful negative words and toxic thoughts affect us, like you said, at the cellular level,
Yeah, life
which
and death is in the power of the tongue, right?
absolutely.
Mhm.
And I believe so much in the power of the mind,
Yes.
because I know, and you probably do too, so many women, and I'm guilty of this too, and I really have been working on catching this because it's kind of crept into our culture where it's okay to cut ourselves down.
Mm.
Like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm not smart enough to do that, or oh, I'm just getting older, and
Mhm.
oh, these wrinkles and this gray hair and all these things, and we just those are negative things that are not life giving to
Right.
us at all on any level.
Right. No, it's so true. I think we all struggle with that, whether you've I don't care what age you are. I think there's always that moment where you have that negative thought and you have to catch it and have a flip of the script, basically. And that takes practice, right? It's not like it just happens overnight, but it takes practice. And the more you do it, the better you become at it. But let's talk a little bit about the origin of theosynthesis and how God gave you the word and how just it evolved, and then your story with your health and with the toxins in your life and that kind of thing?
Well, it evolved mainly because I've always been a health geek, probably like you have. I've just,
That's why I love you.
I
You're a
know
health
my
geek.
family made fun of me growing up. I mean, I've just always been this weird health geek. But I'm the one in my family who got the weird health issues, these
Mm.
two massive tumors that, I was told you're not going to make it. You've got these two huge tumors in your body. And these happened 10 years, well, 14 years apart.
And where were they located?
The first one was on my spinal cord, and it had grown from my spinal cord into the right side of my chest.
Mm.
So it was a big old tumor right here. And
When you
my
say
back,
big O, like Texas big O, like
a
with
big
the size
old,
of what?
like a small orange.
Yeah.
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 So the X-ray just
That's
showed
big
it.
O.
Well, it is. And the doctor, he actually said this. He said these words. He says, "Paula, you have a brick in your chest." I was like, "What?"
Mm.
Come again? And of course, your whole life starts to change at that very moment when you hear those words. And I know so many people out there have heard those words or are walking through it right now, and it's terrifying. And you just don't know. I was 43 at the time. So, I mean, I was running and peak of my career and everything else, and two kids at home, and felt really healthy. I didn't really have any symptoms other than a backache, but because I was a
Interesting.
gymnast and a college cheerleader and I did really crazy things to my back, I just thought your back's supposed to hurt at 43. And what I found out later was it was all those years of a tumor growing off of my spinal cord, and it found this little hole to go out into and just blew up in my chest.
Wow.
That's when it was discovered. Got it out, two massive surgeries. Of course, I lived. They didn't think I would. And here I am. So 10 years go by and I'm running half marathons again. I'm feeling pretty good. And I mean, I don't even have as much as a cough. And I go in for an x-ray for my collarbone. And they said, "Well, we're really not concerned about this collarbone, but you have a massive growth or something in your lung. It looks like in your lung." And I'm like, "Wait a minute." I run, go look at that x ray, and I'm like, wow, there's another big old thing. And this time I look at it and I said, "That's in my left lung." Go back to the same surgeon. He's like, "Paul, I can count on one hand in all my years of thoracotomies and surgeries, how many people I've had to do two of these on." So I just told him, "Please make my scars match because now I want on each
Make him
side,
look
front to
cute
back."
in a
Yeah,
bikini. Yeah.
yeah. Well, no, that's not happening. But, but that, so anyway, here I had been on this health journey my whole life, and I had these two most bizarre and rare tumors, came through both of them. And one of the doctors on this team that was consulting with me, because they were like, "Okay, you're a lab rat and we need to study you."
Mm.
And I was happy to help. But during one of the last times we were interviewing, and I'd gone through numerous tests and questionnaires, and they did determine it was not genetic, which was great because I knew, okay, good, I haven't passed this weird growth tumor thing down to my children and grandchildren. And one of the doctors, who's a dermatologist, said, "I want you to go home and I want you to look for these main ingredients in the products that you use every day." And he said, "I'm talking about your shampoo, your health, your skincare, your toothpaste, your deodorant, the things you wash your clothes with and spray and clean your house with, all of those. And look for these main ingredients. And if they're there, I want you to get rid of them. You need to purge your home of all of these toxins, because what they believe is that we have so many toxins now in our world, in our water, in our air, and a
Yeah.
lot of those we can't avoid. But so much has crept into the products that we use that now, after, well, when this second one happened, I was 50 years old. So after, you think, 50 years of toxic buildup, and if you have a highly sensitive body like I do, because even medications, I've never been able to take medicine. If I do, I have to take a tiny bit. They just affect me chemically. I just am super sensitive. So that made sense to me. And I go home and I seriously, Wendie, I took a trash bag and I was in tears through this whole process. I
Sure.
pick up a
You're
product.
seeing dollar signs go down the
Well,
toilet. Yeah.
not only
And
that,
then,
I felt duped.
Well, of course,
right?
of
I
course.
felt that these things were being sold, so therefore they had to be safe.
Well, and think of the food
Right.
industry. What
Right.
what what is leaking into our foods that we're consuming, not just the products
Yeah.
that we're putting on.
It made me sad. And I
Yeah.
just raked it all in. And I went on a quest at that moment, even though I'd been a health nut all my life. I took it to a whole new
Whole
level.
new level.
And I just went on that finding products for my skin and everything that I used that was going to be as clean and healthy as I could. And
Mhm.
that's what put me on this quest. And I remember very clearly sitting at a computer, just like I am now, researching, and this word theosynthesis popped into my head because I was thinking of a visual, and I'm such a visual and I'm such a geeky science person that photosynthesis is what popped into my head. And so the word theosynthesis, I wrote it down, and then I thought, well, I need to Google it, and it didn't come up. So I Googled it again thinking I misspelled it. It didn't come up. And I remember I pushed my chair away. I looked up and I said, God, did you just give me a word? And I'm telling you, like we're sitting here talking, I heard, yes, and I expect you to do something with it.
That's beautiful. I
And what
love
do? I start arguing with God.
that.
What? No, you're not
Not
talking to me.
me.
Yeah. And seriously, this was the exact words I said to him. I said, God, I only have a degree in biology. This was 6 years ago. I do not have a degree in theology, nor do I have a doctorate. And it was almost like he was just smacking me on the head. Like, would you just back up? Would you just let me take control?
Mm.
Because I've got this all laid out. And I could, I'm telling you, if you would have asked me 6 years ago if I would have a doctorate in theology, I would have told you no, and you're crazy. But he knew, and it wasn't that I needed that for any kind of credibility. He just, that's what I argued with him. That's what I thought I needed to have the authority to write something like this. But I really, truly did feel completely overwhelmed, underprepared, and not worthy of being the person to write this book.
Yeah, I think I can relate to that as well, and I think our listeners can too. And I believe that God uses so often that least likely that becomes the most likely. I mean, you look at all the stories in His Word, and it's like, whoa, little David, knocked out, knocked out Goliath, and just it's just uh, yeah, it's the least likely. And so when we argue, um, we're just being put to the test. And so he knows our answer already, and he knows that you were a willing vessel, or he wouldn't have even dropped that into your spirit. So I'm just grateful for your obedience and the work that you're doing. And I know that we have a big conference coming up, which is super exciting. You're for your very first Liv2Day conference in Granbury, Texas on October 14th. And I'm so excited to be a speaker at that event. And I'll be, of course, sharing about Visibly Fit and nutrition and exercise, and it'll be fantastic. But it's going to be really incredible. So people can still get tickets. Is that correct?
Yes, if they go to drpaulamcdonald.com and
Okay.
click on events, you can get a ticket right there.
Do
Um,
it. Do it right now.
yes. And let me just tell you this, is there not a more timely
Mm,
time in history than right now, Wendie? And you know you're so passionate about this, for us to be speaking into and bringing in these people like yourself and Dr. Terry Harmon and Sharice and Dr. Gordon Selly and Shannon Fields, who are going to descend upon Granbury to really speak into people in a way that people need to hear right now. Because we all know this world, doesn't it feel like it is spinning out of control
yeah,
very,
there
very
is
quickly?
very little balance happening right now, and it's a tug of war. It's a pull. It's polar opposites rather than finding a common fluidity and in truth. And so that's what this conference is all about: is really sharing the truth about how to become healthy and well in mind, body, and spirit, and being able to walk away with tools and practical steps that they can apply right then and there, that can start to
Exactly.
change the trajectory of their life. So it is about building up our immune system. We have to be healthy and well, and understanding what those toxins are in those products. And I hope you're going to share that with everyone at the conference, because um, I know for myself, I'd love a big list. What list did you, check off of, okay, I will not have that in any of my products, because that's going to be a game changer for people, knowing what to look for, right?
Yep. And I do have a chapter on that in my book that does list some the big no-nos that are the most common, like parabens and
Yes.
those things that you can't pronounce are typically not supposed to be in stuff that we're slapping on. Because did you know that your skin is it's your largest organ,
Mhm.
and in 26 seconds, what you put on this skin reaches every cell of your body.
Wow. 26 seconds.
That
That's
means
fascinating.
whatever you're slapping on,
Hmm.
putting on your hair, whatever it is, it's going in there. Whatever you're breathing, that goes even faster. So it is truly important that we take our health back, and we say no to those companies that are putting this stuff in, and they're doing it for to extend shelf life
Yeah.
and to make products last longer,
To make a dollar
and it's
or millions.
plastics. It, it's plastics, it's toxins. There's a lot of things that you think, why is that product even in there? Why would that substance be in there?
Yeah, well, like what did they discover even like with Subway? They were using I can't think of the name because it's one of those long words, but it's a product that they use in yoga mats in the bread in Subway. And I think that that's been changed now, but that was one of the issues. I mean, you think even with foods, people don't realize what they're even, ingesting. And so it's about opening up your eyes, waking up and finding out, oh, I do have more control over my health than I realize, and not being just I guess kind of walking in the dark. So many people just trust blindly, and it's not okay. It's time to wake up.
Well, and Wendy, I know that you have this message deeply ingrained in the people that you work with. And a lot of my heart goes to those people who have gotten to a point where they feel like I'm I'm so overweight, or I'm so far gone in my health that there's no path back.
Right.
And that is
That's a
not the
lie.
truth. It is a
Hmm.
lie. And it's from the enemy, who desires for us to remain in dis-ease and sickness. Because when God said your body is a temple, he knew he needed us to be taking care of this one vessel he gave us in charge of, so that we could serve him. So
Yes.
look at the devil, man. He's over here going, I'm going to keep all of these people so sick and so tired and so unable to do God's work. And he wins.
Yes.
But
Comes
it's
to
never,
steal, kill,
yep.
and destroy.
And so it is never too late. And that's the
That's
big
right.
message at Liv2Day Summit that I want everyone walking away with more than ever, is that I can leave this place, and it's up to me. I can do this. And I can reach out to somebody like Wendie Pett, who can help me, who can do it in a realistic fashion. You don't have to go run half marathons. That was just me. I just one of those weird people that loves to run. But you have such a beautiful way of exercising with just your own body in isometrics. And I love that. And so I
Mhm.
know people are going to get these messages from Dr. Terry Harmon, who's really going to speak into the immune system, that this right here, what God gave us, that is our most amazing system that we have, but we've destroyed it when we've ignored our health. But
Yeah.
it can be restored to vitality as well.
That's right. And it's like you said, it's never too late. All you have to do is take one little small step each and every day. And that way you can live today. But it is taking those small little steps, and it's that conquer and layer approach. You master one thing, and then you bring on something else, and you master that, you bring on something else. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be a little bit at a time. Um, I mean, I'm kind of in the place of moderation kills momentum. So be careful with moderation. Um, I'm all about just kind of jumping right in, but not everyone's that way, and that's okay. But it is doable, and we're going to give you practical tools and steps that you can apply to your life today. All the speakers will. So I'm so excited. It's going to be fantastic. With your book, too, because I don't want to leave just yet. You've got so much to share. You talk so much about, gosh, just the spirit, God's spirit, and how it is so important to rest in him and to allow your body to just just be still, to pray and meditate on his word and to hear his still small quiet voice so that you can uh, live today and by taking those steps with his direction and not your flesh desired direction. So let's talk a little bit about the promptings of the Holy Spirit and some of your practical ways of getting someone to hear God's word.
Well, that I think you were must have been listening in. My podcast that I'm recording today is about what is your missing piece.
Oh wow,
Peace.
I have not
And
heard that. That's good.
yes, so it and I am I just felt that that was the topic for today that
Hmm.
people need to hear because our world, as we both mentioned, it's crazy. People are living in fear like
Fear,
never
right?
before because the media is just pumping that in. Fear, fear, fear. Everybody's got to be afraid, afraid of this, afraid of that. And that's one reason why when I left that hospital the second time, they said, Paula, you've lost a lung and a common cold could kill you. So you
Mm,
need to really be careful. So when all of this hit with our
the
pandemic,
pandemic, yes.
I mean, I got more calls, more texts, and I know everybody meant very well. Oh my gosh, Paula, you're 60 years old and you're going to die. I'm like, thanks for letting me know
Yeah,
that.
let me just shift those words.
Yes. And I said, you know what? That's why when I left that hospital, I remember having this conversation with myself. Okay, am I going to live in a bubble? Do I have to be living like, oh my gosh, anybody sneezes around me, I'm going to get sick and die? And I decided right then that that is not the God that I follow. He is not
Amen.
a God of fear. And he doesn't want me to live in fear. He wants me to live fully and abundantly every day. And that live
Yes.
today is when that popped into my head. I have it on my license plate. And the reason it's spelled the way it is, LIV, the number two, and day, is because it fit on a license plate.
Oh, funny.
And I
There's a
wanted,
practical reason for that.
yeah, I wanted it to just be everywhere I went. I wanted that
Yeah,
to be the message that I shared is that life is about living. Don't get to the end of your life and think, "Oh, I was so careful that I didn't live."
right.
And that's not what God wants for any of us.
No, and you talk about abundantly connecting with God, and abundantly has so many different words around that word, like freely, plentifully, everywhere, extensively. So, extensively connecting with God. And
Mm.
so that's like moment by moment, extensively. And if we start to live our life like that, as opposed to, again, just doing our own thing, then we become more in balance and we don't have the issues of being in that chaotic time stamped place that so many people are caught up in right now. So let's talk a little bit too about the importance of sleep and rest and active rest and what that is exactly.
Yes, I'm really have learned that. I'm always been very type A and go, 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 go. And you get to a point where you realize that's not how God designed us either. He did design us with times of rest, our
Yes.
week to have times of rest away from work. And we somehow found ourselves in this world where you get honored and glorified for all this work that you're doing. But I have learned to really, if I'm tired, I stop. If
Yeah.
I need to go to bed at 6:30 at night, there's sometimes I just turn to my husband and say, I got to go to bed. And he's learned just to let me because I feel that I'm the energizer bunny who now the battery is like, "Brrrt,"
Yeah.
and I have to listen to that. But also, so there's that physical rest, but there's also the spiritual rest. And that's the resting that I think is the most important that people say, I really want to come to your Bible study, but I'm just so busy. But yet God's put it on their heart, right? He
Mhm.
needs that time with you. He needs that time when you're just either sitting and listening to him or you're in prayer talking to him or you're just immersed in his word. And then I also hear this, oh my gosh, I feel so guilty because I pray at night and then I fall asleep. And
Oh, I do that.
my comment to
I
that
think it's
is,
wonderful.
what a beautiful way to fall asleep in God's arms,
That's right. That's
right?
right.
But
Yeah.
we need to learn that it's okay to take time and to say no to things and
Mhm.
to rest. So that's so important, that physical but spiritual rest. And then also just the fun rest where you're doing something that you love. Like you just went on a wonderful vacation
I
and just
did.
pulled yourself away from everything and
It was
went.
hard to come back, I have to admit.
I bet. And those pictures look glorious.
Oh, Alaska was amazing. Yes,
Mhm.
for sure. But yeah, the active rest is so important. And, not just resting on the Sabbath. Yes, that is very important. But what about resting, like you're saying, just in everyday moments? And so, my husband and I, we listen to whole tones a lot.
I love that. I have that
Yes,
as well.
it's so good. And so listening to those tonality, those tones as we're working, or just maybe we take a 10-minute break and just shut our eyes. I like to get by the window and let the sun beat on my face and just close my eyes and just start listing off gratitudes and just letting God talk to me. And man, that's like active rest. And
Absolutely.
it's like recharging.
Mhm.
So it's so good. Well, what is one of your, I guess, go-to protocols of your exercise and the way that you stay active with your health with your workouts?
Well, for me, I've had to change a
Because I
lot
know
of
you were a runner, and yes.
I've had to change a lot of things because when you have spinal cord surgery and then you have where they cut your chest open from front to back and they open up your ribs. So at that age, your ribs actually break, and it's cutting through a lot of chest and back muscles. And I know that's a lot more information than people want. However, that means I'm dealing with a lot of scar tissue and a lot of pain that it's just constant. So I part of my regimen is not just exercise, which now is more walking or an elliptical, something that's not jarring for me.
Mhm.
And it's hard because I really want to run. My last really big race was 10 miles in the woodlands, and at the end of that race I felt like I was trying to drink air or suck air out of a straw, a tiny little straw,
Mhm.
and they had to give me oxygen, and I was like, oh. So
Aw,
I've just had to make some changes,
yeah,
but I also love what I've learned from you, and those are just that I can stand there, I can lean into my counter, and I
that's
can do
right.
20 push-ups
There you
right
go.
there, right?
That's
Right.
right.
Brush my teeth, do my 20 push-ups, and then come back later on. If I'm washing my hands, stop, do 20 more. When I'm driving, I can do my arms
That's
on the
right. On the
steering
steering
wheel.
wheel. That's
I
so
can
good.
take my stomach muscles and pull those in because those stomach muscles have really taken a beating because I can't there's a lot of things I just physically cannot do, or I
Sure.
pay for it later in pain. So,
There's
um,
always a way, and sometimes it just takes a mindset shift of saying, you know what, it doesn't mean that I'm all washed up, like
yeah,
because I'm not able to do this activity like I used to. It's
right.
just shifting the mindset and saying, oh, okay, I'm going to shift the way my body moves and do this instead, and do more stretching and do more functional type fitness that will help you over the long haul for just functional living. And so that's what you're doing, and I'm so glad to hear that. Um, but yeah, when you said brushing your teeth and doing push-ups, I'm like, I've never done that one. Maybe I'll try some. I do squats with brushing
Well,
my
it's
teeth, but
after I brush my teeth.
oh, I'm
That's
like, that's going to be
right there.
impressive.
Yeah.
Brushing your
No,
teeth
no,
and
no.
push-ups. You
Yeah,
are
I have the
talented.
toothbrush standing there.
That's so
Yeah,
great. Well,
no.
I am so
After
looking forward to the Liv2Day conference. It's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to meet the rest of the speakers and spend time with you. And if you are listening and you are in the Dallas Fort Worth area, or even if you're not and you want to just fly in, it is so worth it. Go to drpaulamcdonald.com and get your tickets today. But it's also where you can find her book and her resources and all the wonderful things that Dr. Paula has to share with you. So make sure you go to drpaulamcdonald.com and learn more there. So thank you so much for being a guest on Visibly Fit. You're amazing. I love you dearly, like a sister. And
well, we are sisters in Christ.
amen. Yes, we are.
Sisters from another mister.
That's right.
And
And mother.
yes. And so I can't wait to see you in Texas, in your home
Mm.
state.
Oh, I'm
And
excited.
it's going to be wonderful. And the message that Wendie has for everyone, it's, I just love it so much, Wendie, because
Mm.
you reach people that don't think they have a chance anymore. And I just love that. And I'm praying that God's going to bring every person there that truly needs to hear this message from you,
Mm.
because you're right. There's so many other ways to change the mindset of getting fit and healthy again.
Yeah.
So
Well,
thank
thank
you for
you.
what you do.
Oh, thank you. You're awesome. Bless you, my friend. And we'll see you in a few weeks.
Okay.
Thanks for
Love
being on
you.
the podcast. Love you too. Bye-bye. Isn't Dr. Paula McDonald just amazing? She is just the real deal. What you see is what you get. And she is just seriously amazing. She is. She's authentic. She's got a plethora of information to share, and her book is fantastic. So again, if you want to check out her book, go to drpaulamcdonald.com. It's Live Today, Abundantly Connecting to God, all about theosynthesis, and she will help give you tools and information on how to experience God's peace in mind, body, and spirit. So check that out. And if you are interested in hearing a certain topic on Visibly Fit, I want to hear from you. Go to my social media, reach out on my website, whatever, and let me know if you know of someone that you would like for me to interview, or if you have a certain topic you'd like to hear more about. I'm all ears. This podcast is for you, and I want to make sure that I'm delivering exactly what you would like to hear. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give it a 5-star rating and give it a review. I would greatly appreciate that, and I will read it on the air. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Visibly Fit. Be blessed.
Well, that's a wrap for today's show, so thank you so much for tuning in. I love spending this time with you. To learn more and get more free resources, just head on over to wendiepett.com, and thank you in advance for sharing this episode and this podcast, following and subscribing not only to this podcast, but finding me on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are, I'm probably there too. Until next week and our next podcast time together, make it a Visibly Fit day.